Hello, class. Welcome to the first lesson of this course. Today, we will be covering Unit 1 of Book 1, which is about science. So for this unit, we will be covering the common vocabulary and terminology used when talking about science. We'll talk about the different branches of science, how they're similar and different from each other, and we'll talk about the different qualities of a scientist. Okay? So before we begin, I would like you guys to read this from the editor passage over here. So you see under Unit 1 Science, under the picture with the word research in it, there's this passage called From the Editor, right? I want you guys to read this passage, and then when you're done, I want you guys to answer these two warm-up questions. First one, what features are shared by all branches of science? And the second one, what are some important qualities in a scientist? So what I want you guys to do now is pause this video, read through this passage by yourself first, and then use this passage to answer these two questions over here. And when you finish answering these two questions, resume the video and we will go through the answers together. All right? So go ahead. Okay, so let's go through the answers together. For the first one, what features are shared by all branches of science? According to the passage, every branch of science seeks to study or evaluate something. So chemistry, biology, physics, all these different branches of science, they all want to study or evaluate something. So that's a common feature shared by all of them. All right. Now, for the next one, what are some important qualities in a scientist? According to the passage, a scientist would question the world around them. So they'll ask questions about how something works, why something happens, or what's going on. Okay. A scientist would be eager to discover new ideas. So a scientist would be happy when they find new data, when they discover something new, something unexpected perhaps. That would be something a scientist would want. And lastly, a scientist would be willing to spend a lot of time to work in a lab and research. A lab is a place where they would have most, if not all of their equipment, so all the lab equipment. So it would make sense for a scientist to have to spend a lot of time in a lab to do their research. Okay? So these are the important qualities of a scientist according to the passage. For the next section, I would like you guys to read the passage again and answer the following multiple choice questions here. So you see, we have this question, what is the main idea of the article? Second question, which of the following is not mentioned in the editor's letter? And lastly, according to the article, what makes a good scientist? All right. So I want you guys to pause the video, answer these questions answer these multiple choice questions. And when you're done, resume the video and we will go through the answers together. Okay, so what is the main idea of the article? The main idea of the article is the similarities between different areas of science. So they were talking about what's similar between the different branches of science. That is, that they mentioned about the study and evaluate something that we talked about before. Okay. For the next question, which of the following is not mentioned in the editor's letter? The answer to this one is ongoing experiments in various labs. So they talked about the various branches of science. They talked about the historical overview of different fields. They even talked about the features shared by all branches of science, but they didn't mention anything about ongoing experiments. They didn't give any specific experiment in the passage. All right. Lastly, according to the article, what makes a good scientist? The answer to that one is a habit of seeking information. So the main points that the article talked about, the passage, was that a scientist needs to always be looking for information. They always have to want to go through old data, new data, whatever. They always need to look for information for their research. Okay, so those are the answers for this part. On to the next part. Okay, for the first vocabulary segment, I want you guys to match the following words with the following definitions, all right? So we have branch, lab, question, study, discover, and science. I want you to match these words with the definitions below. So pause this video, try it yourself first. So I want you guys to try it yourself. And once you finish, resume the video and we will go through the definitions and the answers together. Okay? So try it out first. Okay, so here are the answers. For the first one, to learn about something in a formal context, we call that to study something. So study means to learn or to find out about something. And to find out about something in a formal context, it's like studying in a school or doing research. So that's what that means. Next, a broad field that examines various processes through experimentation. We call that science. So science is a very broad field. It contains many, many subjects. And all of them examines different processes or tries to experiment. So that's why we call them science. So that's why the field is called science. All right. Next, to find new information about something, we call that to discover. So when you discover something, you find out something new. So scientists would like to discover new things because that's them finding new information about their subject. Okay. Next, a place where experiments are conducted. We call that a lab. So a lab would have the equipment that a scientist would need, as we mentioned earlier. So therefore, most, if not all of their experiments would be done inside a lab. All right. Next, to assess the truth of something, we call that question. So when we ask about something, we try to evaluate or calculate or try to figure out what that something is. So that's what it means to assess the truth of something. Assess meaning evaluate or calculate. Okay. Lastly, an area or subfield of a larger field. We call that a branch. So physics, biology, chemistry, all of these are branches of a larger field we call science. All right. So all these physics, biology, chemistry, they're all subfields of science. All right. So these are the answers to this section. All right. For the next vocabulary segment, I want you guys to fill in the blanks of these incomplete sentences. So we have two pairs of sentences, as we can see here. And for each pair, we have two given vocabulary, right? So for the first pair, we have improve and evaluate. For the second pair, we have progress and research. So just like before, I want you guys to pause the video and fill in the blank yourselves. So do that first. And once you try it out, resume the video and we'll go through the answers together. Okay? All right, so here are the answers. For the first one, after the developers blank the drink formula, it tasted much better. The answer to this one is improved. So after the developers improved the drink formula, it tasted much better. So improve something means to make it better. So you improve a drink, of course, it would taste better than before. All right. For the next one, several scientists blank the problem before investigating further. The answer, several scientists evaluated the problem before investigating further. So they observed, they calculated, they evaluated the problem before they continue investigating. All right. For the next one, the student performed extensive blank for her final report. The answer to this one, the student performed extensive research for her final report. So she searched up additional information. She made sure that her data is correct. So that's what it means to research. Next, after months of inactivity, the project finally started to make blank. The answer, after months of inactivity, the project finally started to make progress. So progress means to move on to the next step. So if the project was at step 1, then when they made progress, it's now at step 2. Okay? So that's what it means to make progress. Those are the answers for this section. Moving on. All right, so for the first listening segment of this unit, I want you guys to listen to this audio of the passage that we've been reading so far. Once you finish listening to the audio, I want you guys to fill in the blank of this sentence below here. Successful experiments are often the result of plenty of blank and time spent in the blank. So I'm going to play the audio clip, you listen to it, and once you finish listening, pause the video, fill in the blank yourself first, and then after you finish filling the blank, resume the video and I'll show you the answers, okay? Here's the audio clip.
Book 1, Unit 1, Science. Exercise 5, page 5.
The Stellar Monthly, a journal of science and technology. From the editor. This week's issue is all about the history of science. You'll find articles on everything from paleontology to computer technology. Each branch has its own properties and applications. However, some features are common to all of them. Every branch of science seeks to study or evaluate something. Some people naturally question the world around them. Those people make excellent scientists. They are eager to discover new ideas, but they know it's not easy. Science requires extensive time and research. Most scientists spend countless hours in the lab, but that's how we make progress. When you actually improve something, it's worth the effort. So enjoy our special history issue. Editor.
All right, so here are the answers. Successful experiments are often the result of plenty of research and time spent in the lab. So according to the audio and this passage, successful experiments are often the result of plenty of research and time spent in the lab. All right, so that's the first part. Okay, for the next listening segment of this unit, I want you guys to listen to a conversation between two scientists, all right? And after you finish listening to the audio clip, I want you guys to mark which of the following is true or false, all right? So we have the scientists in the lab made a major discovery. The man performed some research for the experiment, and the results of the experiment will likely be widely useful. So after you listen to the audio clip, pause the video and choose true or false for the following statements. Okay. Here's the audio clip.
Exercises 6 and 7, page 5.
Hey, Kim, did you hear about the experiments at Finmore Labs?
Yes, it sounds really interesting. They're improving fuel efficiency in cars, right?
Well, they're trying. So far, progress is slow.
I suppose that's to be expected.
Of course. Successful experiments require plenty of research and lots of time in the lab.
Exactly. In any case, I'm eager to hear what they discover.
Yeah, so am I. Their findings will be useful worldwide.
Okay, if you need to listen to that audio clip again, pause the video and rewind it to the point where I began the audio clip, okay? All right, so here are the answers for this segment. The scientists in the lab made a major discovery. The answer to this one is false. They didn't make a major discovery. They were talking about it, right? So the next one, the man performed some research for the experiment. True or false? The answer is false. Oh, the answer to this one is false. Again, they were talking about an important experiment. They were talking about an important discovery, but they didn't do any of it themselves. All right. And the last one, the results of the experiment will be widely useful. The answer to this one, as I showed earlier, was true. So they were talking about how this fuel efficiency experiment is going to be useful worldwide. All right. So that's the answers for this segment. Moving on. Okay, so for this segment, I want you guys to listen to the conversation again. Now, after you finish listening to the conversation, I want you guys to pause the video and fill in the blanks yourselves based on what you heard in the conversation. Once you finish listening and fill in the blanks, you may resume the video and we'll go through the answers together. Here's the audio clip.
Exercises 6 and 7, page 5.
Hey, Kim, did you hear about the experiments at Finmore Labs?
Yes, it sounds really interesting. They're improving fuel efficiency in cars, right?
Well, they're trying. So far, progress is slow.
I suppose that's to be expected.
Of course. Successful experiments require plenty of research and lots of time in the lab.
Exactly. In any case, I'm eager to hear what they discover.
Yeah, so am I. Their findings will be useful worldwide.
Okay, if you need to listen to that audio clip again, pause the video and rewind it to the point where I began the clip, okay? Okay, here are the answers. Hey, Kim, did you hear about the experiment at Finmore Labs? Yes, it sounds really interesting. They're improving fuel efficiency in cars, right? While they're trying, so far, progress is slow. I suppose that's to be expected. Of course, successful experiments require plenty of research and lots of time in the lab. Exactly. In any case, I'm eager to hear what they discovered. Yeah, so am I. Their findings will be useful worldwide. Those are the answers. We move on to the next segment. For the speaking segment of this unit, I want you guys to fill in the blanks of the following conversation over here. So you see these 4 blanks in this conversation. I want you to fill them out with the given sentences above over here. So you have 4 given sentences. They discovered some really interesting patterns already. Their findings will be useful worldwide. And as it turns out, their evaluations were correct. And did you hear about the experiment at DRNS Labs? So figure out which sentence belongs to which blank. And after you do that, pause the video, try reading out this conversation either by yourself or with a partner, as if you were having this conversation. So practice speaking by yourself first. after you fill in the blanks. And then when you're done with all of that, you can resume the video and I'll show you what the conversation looks like. Okay? So try it out first. All right, so here's the conversation. Did you hear about the experiment at DRNS Labs? They're improving weather analysis software, right? Yes. They discovered some really interesting patterns already. No scientists really question the accepted notions about weather prediction. Right. And as it turns out, their evaluations were correct. I'm eager to hear about their progress. So am I. Their findings will be useful worldwide. Okay, so that's the conversation. I hope you had something similar, or at least sound the same. Okay, so for the writing segment of this unit, I want you guys to fill in the blanks of this paragraph here using the given words up here. So we have fuel, possibilities, team, lead, slow, and research. All right. So using these given words, fill in the blanks of this passage here. So pause the video, try it out yourself first. Try to match these words in the correct sentences. And once you finish, resume the video and we'll go through the answers and the definitions, okay? All right, here are the answers. Scientists at Fillmore Labs are working on a new experiment. Its purpose is to improve current fuel efficiency technology. According to the lead scientist, or like the head scientist, the leader of the team, lead scientist Dr. Jennifer Tyler, their progress is slow as they continue to evaluate different possibilities. So possibilities is like outcomes. So you flip a coin, you only have two possibilities, heads or tails, after you flip the coin. So there are different outcomes or different things that could happen in this experiment. Dr. Tyler expects the experiment to be a success because the team is very dedicated and willing to put in long hours of research and lab work. Okay? Those are the answers for this part, for this writing part of this unit. For the next writing segment, just like before, I want you guys to fill in the blanks of these sentences using the given vocabulary. So we got these words: evaluate, study, lab, question, branch, progress, improve, and discover. So use these words to fill in the blanks of these sentences. Try that out yourself first, and then when you're done, resume the video and we'll go through the answers together. All right, here are the answers. No matter which branch of science you're from, whenever you start an experiment, you need to come up with a question about a topic of your choice. You need to study past experiments that are relevant to your experiment before you start. So relevant meaning that it's similar, or it has the same topic, or it's somehow connected to your experiment. All right. Sometimes you'll need a place to perform your experiments, such as a lab. Of course, sometimes after you evaluate the results, you might discover that you may need to improve your experimental techniques in order to make progress. So experimental techniques is like how you research something or how you experiment on something, what kind of tools you use and how you use them. So yeah, those are the answers for this writing segment of this unit. All right, so that was the last section of this unit, Unit 1. If you need extra help with the vocabulary we covered today, you will have access to the vocab PowerPoints. So vocab PowerPoint presentations that have the definitions of the vocabulary we covered today and the Thai version, the Thai word versions of the words we covered. Okay. So that's it for this unit. See you guys for the next unit.